Andrew Yang nails it. He forbled the answer when they first gave it to him because it seems like he was having difficulty with his mic. But when he finally got the opportunity to talk, and he didn't get to talk all that often, he nailed it. The thing is, Andrew Yang's answer goes deeper than just the giving people $1,000. When asked about this, Andrew Yang, meaning, you didn't get much airtime, he said, I think everybody gets that the Asian man wants to give people $1,000. I would argue it goes deeper than that. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. And, I listened to Andrew Yang last night. And when I listened, at the end of Andrew Yang's thing, I turned to my wife and I was like, God, he's right. Like, he is right in a breathtaking way. We don't have people handling elevators anymore. There's a reason for that. The machines work better. I would imagine probably some level of safety regulations. Not to mention you don't necessarily want a person having to do that when you have a device that does it better. Well, think about that from the context of the rest of your society and what that means for the jobs that are going to be lost. Now, whether that's tomorrow or not, Yang makes this kind of pressing argument of when you look at the numbers on it, it is horrendous, meaning the number of jobs that are being bled off, either shipped overseas for people who can do it cheaper or whether being automated. I mean, go to your supermarket. When you're at your supermarket, that's if you even go to your supermarket anymore because you can get the stuff delivered. I mean, you go there, the checkout counters are getting less and less because now you have machines that are essentially doing the jobs. Go to McDonald's in Europe. You don't have people at checkout counters per se. You have machines where you go to and you put your order in. The people are there, but only to give you your order. Like, the process is taking place. Uber and Google getting into a fight over automated cars. Automated cars already in places like California. They will be coming here. If your Uber company does not want to have to pay an Uber driver if it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to worry about the machine raping the woman that's in the back seat. The car will go from point A to point B. The car won't bitch. The car won't moan. The car won't get blue. The car would know what's ahead of it, meaning that once you get many of them on the street, you can kind of create this web. And I guarantee you something else. The technology will beget more technology, meaning the more cars that you have on the market for this, more technology will start to get integrated when the cars can kind of sense the other cars to cut down on the number of accidents that are in place and everything else. Truck drivers, 10 years, a decade. I shit you not. Taxi drivers, Uber drivers, gone. Those are what, 100,000, 200,000 jobs? I guess my point is this. What Yang is saying is right. He is making an extraordinarily good point. And he makes this point in a way that I don't think I've heard any of the other candidates, including Sanders, make. This notion of public health in regards to what people, like public health in the sense of even affecting the larger society itself. Less crime, less people in psychiatric issues, less needing for police, less prisons, less. But he's connecting this to economics. And that is not something people do all that often, even though those things are absolutely, entirely connected. God, I love this answer. So I'm going to just show his answer to this question. How do you pay for it?
President today that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. It's difficult to do if you have companies like Amazon, trillion-dollar tech companies, paying literally zero in taxes while they're closing 30% of our stores. Now, we need to put the American people in position to benefit from.
Did you hear what he said? They're closing 30% of our stores. Why? Because anything that you get at this point, you can sit in your room and you can buy it. Well, that sucks for Walmart. That sucks for, Kmart. That sucks for, but it's a capitalistic system. These guys created a product that does the job better than the other companies, in which case those other companies can get eaten alive and all of those employees can lose their jobs. Understand, this is the system to which we find ourselves. So him making this argument of, look, Amazon was able to make billions, not pay any taxes, and have those companies shut down with those workers losing their jobs. All of it at once, simultaneously. He's arguing that, look, part of the reason when you're looking for why Trump gets elected is for stuff like this. You have a system that breeds this type of stuff. And then you have this capitalistic system that looks at these people as individuals, not looking at it in context of a system that is propelling this type of behavior. These people lost their jobs. They're going to be pissed off. Jeff Bezos made billions of dollars. He's probably a happy man. By the same token, he paid no taxes. They paid no taxes. They use our workers, they use our labor, they use our electricity, they use the safety of our cops, they use all of these things. Pays no taxes. Astonishing. Let him continue.
All these innovations in other parts of the economy. And if we had a value-added tax at even half the European level, it would generate over $800 billion in new revenue, which combined with the money in our hands, it would be the trickle-up economy from our people, families, and communities up. We would spend the money and it would circulate through our regional economies and neighborhoods, creating millions of jobs, making our families stronger and healthier. We'd save money on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care.
Why? Because the moment that people have resources and have money, at that point, they have ways to spend that money. They're not in dire need. I can guarantee you, if it was me when I was growing up, $1,000 would have made all the difference in the world in regards to our household. I would imagine that's a lot of households. So now these people have money to pay for food. They have money to pay for medical care or health care. They're not in these dire straits. And his point is, you save money on all sorts of things. On less cops, because you have less people who are committing crime because they're not committing crime for things that they actually, it's not, you take people out of dire situations. That's his point. And when those people are out of those dire situations, they have less of a tendency to break the law in order to get the things that they need. That is his basic point. And by the way, this is backed up by data. If you look at the Human Rights Movement, the book by Peter Joseph, he goes full well into the way economics plays into psychology, even to the length of time people live. Even Bernie Sanders has brought that part up. The length of time that people live has gone down based on economic straits that the people are in. Yes, he is right. He is 1,000 times right. Look, the basic underlying point that Yang is making is these technological innovations have taken place within the context of our society, and people have been able to make billions of dollars off of those. Good for you. The issue here is that because of those innovations, aspects of the society have not benefited from it. In fact, many aspects have lost out because of those innovations. So some people get rich and other people fall into calamity. His argument is that part of the reason that Donald Trump got elected was because of the havoc that our trade policies have had within the context of our system, and not just trade policies, our economic policies, the way that we will cater to the capitalist class while allowing the other parts of the society that makes the society work, by the way, fall to the wayside. He's right. Think about it for yourself. There is no Jeff Bezos without the people who are working for Jeff Bezos. There is no Apple without the people who are working for Apple. None of these companies, no person that you could think of from the standpoint of wealth, outside of that wealth being essentially taken through the years, and even then, it started at some point where they got it from somewhere, and it required some aspect of labor. If it requires some aspect of labor, where they use our lights, they use our electricity, they use our streets, they use the cops when things are going wrong in this case, they depend on the clean air. They depend on all of these things, these aspects of our society in this case, but they pay no taxes. How do you not pay for the thing to which you're using? And going further than that, labor. The workforce in this country, for some reason, allows billionaires to exist. Understand what I'm saying in this case. You are allowing billionaires to exist. Those resources are being hoarded and used for their own ends as opposed to being used for the ends of the society itself. That is insane. They do not exist without you. Your ability to work, your ability to create the society to which they live and exist, to which even the employees of the companies to live and exist. The products that they sell are being bought by other human beings, and the human beings are working at those companies, allowing those products to be sold in the first place. They are entirely reliant on us. How in the world do you get $1 billion in a system where 99% of the population is eking by? You look to the population itself and says, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's what I do. I look at the population and say, why do you allow such a thing to take place? Now, Yang's response to this is less caustic than mine. Yang's response is they need to get back. The society that allowed them to be billionaires and millionaires, and that has allowed them to reach such benefits off the technological innovation and everything else. But within the context of this particular society, they roll the dice. They hit rich. Great for them. The rest of the society, to which they completely and entirely rely upon, didn't do as well. In which case, you need to give back. If you want to keep this particular capitalistic system running, his point, those people need to give back. You got to put lifeblood into the system in order to make the system run. And his argument is you will cut down on crime. You will cut down on this notion of you will get better from the standpoint of public health. And not just the standpoint of public health, putting the money into the economy like that and putting it into the hands of the people that need it the most. Those people are going to spend it. They're not going to put it into the bank. Jeff Bezos getting another $1 billion. So the fuck what? That, it's like that's going into his bank account. He doesn't even notice it. It's a number on a page. But from the standpoint of somebody who's using it to pay a bill, to buy food, to buy bread, to go out and buy a Christmas present for so-and-so, to pay for school, or to do whatever, just to live their life, it is a big deal to them. His point is, you can't be who you are without the rest of the society. And it's time that needs to be acknowledged. I wish it was more than just an Asian man on the stage saying that. I wish the rest of the society acknowledged that and accepted that it's almost flesh to bone. And for any candidate that's going to get elected, that was the perspective of it, that they were running with this knowledge that the public is backing me and saying that something needs to take place in regards to a balancer in the way that the public perceives itself in the context of the larger capitalistic system to which it finds itself. Yang gets a little bit more.
And just the value gains from having a stronger, healthier, mentally healthier population would increase GDP by $700 billion. This is the move that we have to make, particularly as technology is now automating away millions of American jobs. It's why Donald Trump is our president today, that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And we're about to do the same thing to millions of retail jobs, call center jobs, fast food jobs, truck driving jobs, and on through the economy.
Value-added tax, the money that we get, you get a certain amount of money for the value-added tax, but in addition to that money, by dumping it into those people's hands, they dump it immediately into the economy. Those people are paying taxes. The more money spent to the economy, the more jobs that are created because we have more things that people need to buy. That's assuming inflation doesn't create an issue, but at this point, we haven't seen issues of inflation. So, at least not significantly. And they've dumped, $29 trillion or something? Some insane number. I love this answer by Yang. God, I love this answer by Yang. Absolutely love it. I mean, because Yang is hitting on something that is real, man, and that the other people completely ignore. That when they're talking about crime and all this other stuff, all of that stuff is intimately related to economic welfare. Like, there's an argument to be made that, when you're talking, like, the issues are so interwoven that you can't talk about one without the other. It's like when they're talking about the immigration issue. They would say immigration. Oh, we got to do something with immigration. What are we going to do about the stuff at our border? And somebody needs to bring up, well, look, part of our foreign policy has been to create that crisis in the first place by either having CIA operations where we were putting strongmen and creating havoc in those countries, or supporting coups like what took place during the Obama administration where Biden and Hillary was in office with Obama and they undermined the government. That government is on fire now. We need to stop doing that because doing that creates the situation to which we are now arguing about. We are arguing about something at the point in which it's at its worst without ever really talking about how did they get to that place in the first place. It's so rare that people do that. And Yang, I feel, is hitting on that from the standpoint of economics. Now, whether his solution is right, different thing, but at the very least he's hitting on it. Because I think Yang goes further into, talking about getting rid of certain, like not keeping a minimum wage and all this other stuff. And that I don't agree with. I do think you need a minimum wage. The capitalist class is raping. I mean, it's like, just because you're giving somebody $1,000 a month doesn't necessarily mean that has nothing to do with their job, if that makes sense. That's something that you're giving back from the standpoint of society, saying there are aspects of society that's done amazingly well. We're trying to create some level of balancer, and it's in the best interest of the overall society for us to do this because our society is moving in a particular direction. However, if I am doing a job, I want to be paid for the job that I'm doing. So no, you're not going to cut my wage, or and yeah, I should be getting $15 an hour. Now the catch here is kind of what Yang is getting at though. The moment that you charge somebody $15 an hour, you change the economics of the situation. If McDonald's can rape an employee and exploit that employee by paying them $9 an hour, it may cost $15 an hour to put in a robot for that job. In the moment that you pay that person $15 an hour, the payment become, commensurate with the robot, in which case you create an economics where you may bring the robot in. Fair enough, but I think that gets into the heart of why the $1,000 there in the first place. The whole point is that person is not desperate as automation starts to take hold. I mean, the whole argument is automation. But God, I love the way he thinks about it at the very least, and because he seems to be thinking about it in a way that's, I don't know if the other candidates are not there on, because it seems like they're arguing about, it's like they're arguing about something in the past of sorts, where Yang is trying to be like, no, look, this is taking place now. We need to do something about this now. It's just an interesting thing. I have no idea how our society transitions into this kind of automated thing. And I suppose we do so not necessarily in the most elegant of ways, seeing as we have this notion that if a person loses their job, it's their fault, et cetera, as opposed to looking at it in a systemic way. But at the very least, Yang is thinking about this in those terms. And God, I applaud him at the very least for doing that. So, not going to keep this long. You Yang Andrew? No, not Yang Gang. Bernie is my horse. Yeah, Matthew Wayne. But, I don't have to be part of the Yang Gang to at the very least acknowledge that I like that answer. And I think I've mentioned on more than one occasion that I like the way that Yang thinks about our system as at the very least a system. And many of the other candidates purely talk about this in the sense of politics. Like, oh, we got to push, we got to just try hard. If we try real hard, we can get some kind of political thing changed. But there's an underlying reality that people living in this system, and you trying and pushing hard without necessarily talking about it as a system is somewhat problematic, because if you don't realize it's a system, you miss certain aspects of it. Like, I don't know. I like that answer. I like it. It's a prescient way of looking at it. If automation is talking over, then tax robots. That's another thing. Taxing robots potentially. That's an interesting one. Taxing robots. That's a fucking interesting one. Question is, what do you do with the money after taxing? Do you give it back as a thing? Yang reminds me of Herman Cain's no comparison. God, there's no comparison. There's no comparison. Because what Yang is saying, everything Yang said right there is right. He's right. Herman Cain was a lunatic. Herman Cain might could do pizzas, but he had nothing to do in politics. Man was a lunatic. He was coming up with some kind of slogan. He thought that politics was essentially, something that he'd do like in a pizza commercial. To some degree, he's right, but you can't be so cartoonish with it that people kind of point out the fact that you're cartoonish. Things get ridiculous at that point. Him running out with the 999 was nonsense. Making the argument of, I want to give back $1,000 to each and every person as a value back tax, or as a thank you tax, or freedom tax, whatever you want to call it. But it's essentially saying, look, you as an American have done, you have helped push this country forward, and we need to give back as a country itself. Yeah, I like that. The question becomes, what happens after that? How does the rest of society conform to that? Are there, does inflation take hold because you give everybody back $1,000, that type of stuff? I suspect that you're going to dump a ton of cash into society, because the money that you're giving back to people, they're going to spend it immediately. And if that's going to take place every month, it will change over time. But don't get me wrong, it's kind of like healthcare in Britain. They said when they opened up the hospitals to everybody, there was like a rush on the hospitals. But eventually, just kind of people realized it was going to be there. All right, I'll leave it here. Thanks all. Shout out to Yang on that one, man. Like, share. If you enjoy, please consider. Jesus Christ, can't get it out. Say it all the time. Consider supporting the PayPal or Patreon. Thanks all.